Okay, here's my next installment for my Bearhawk building saga. However, this has to do more with my welding equipment than anything else. This is a Tig Cart that I built for my TIG machine, my Dynasty 200DX. I was really disappointed with the selection that I had from the welding manufacturers as far as Tig Carts go, so I thought I'd go ahead and make my own. I found this little cabinet at my local thrift store, my favorite place to shop, little Salvation Army. This little 20-inch by 20-inch cabinet, it's metal, has a little Formica top on it, has a drawer and some storage underneath. The drawer is real handy because it's pretty deep and I can store all my TIG tips in here. Tungstens, all sorts of other incidentals, gloves, my TIG finger brushes, all that good stuff. And under here I can wad up all my wires that usually kind of find their way all around the shop and get stepped on all the time. My foot pedal control, my grounding cable and clamp, and also my TIG torch are all wound up under there. And also there's a couple other boxes with some extra TIG equipment. And also I have on top here, I've got a little bit of workspace. I've got my welding helmet on here now, but when I'm using my welding helmet, it's a good place to just lay stuff on and it doesn't get lost, it just stays there with the TIG torch. So what I did was I built a little frame out of 1x2 tubing. If you can see down here, it's got little swivel casters up front. And then the tubing just matches the width of the cabinet. Comes back here, extends out the back. And then back here, I've got a couple little wheels, little rubber wheels. They have little ball bearings in them. And I've got a piece of all thread that goes in between these two little angle pieces I welded on the back. And a piece of copper tubing. Copper tubing is just basically a spacer. It's what I had in the shop, keeps the wheels apart. And if you notice here for all my cabling, for the power cord I made a little holder, kind of like a storage loop for a garden hose, except this is what I made for my TIG power cable and also the extension that I made for it. And then over here I went ahead and put my insulation for my argon bottle, and it sits in, it looks like a little aluminum cup down here. What it is, it's a old frying pan that I got again at Salvation Army, which had the same diameter as the bottom of my argon bottle. So it seems to work pretty good. It fits it really snug in the bottom. And then up here, I took a piece of channel steel, and if you look, I just kind of smoothed it out to the contour of the argon bottle. And then here I just welded a hook on, and then I've got a little strap here, which is a old ratchet strap that I had, and I pulled out the other end of it with the other hook, and I just dropped a pin in there and then made a little bracket for that, and that stays there, and the ratchet strap holds it nice and tight. If you look on this side here, I've got some storage. I couldn't figure out what the best way to store welding rod was, because there's all sorts of random lengths once you start using them in different projects. But I wanted to keep them sorted so they wouldn't get mixed up. So what I did was I came up with this little PVC holder for all these little different lengths. This is the full-size length welding rod. This is all my ER70S2 that I have. That's the rod that I use the most. And then as they get shorter, I put them in here. So, because if they drop down in here, you'd never find them again and you would never use them. And same with the third tube here, real short pieces. Once they get to be that size, they're not going to be used much more anyway. This tube here has my aluminum stored in here, my stainless welding rod, and my ER70S6, which looks very similar to my ER70S2, so that's why I keep it segregated. And that's just some scrap pieces of oak I had, could be anything. And then the PVC pipe, of course, is pretty cheap. The TIG welder itself sits in a little tray. I always liked the fact that I could go ahead and manipulate the controls at eye level. I've got that set up here. But for transporting it, I'd like to keep it down. So what I did was I made a tray for my TIG welder. As you can see, it's got a strap hinge on the bottom on this side, and on the back side there's a strap hinge back here. So whenever I want to just put it down, so I'm going to be busting around the shop and don't worry about falling it out of the tray. I just go ahead and lift this up, and you can see there's a little rod with a pin welded in it, and a corresponding hole in the Formica top, and all I have to do is just flop that down. That lays down like that, and it's nice and stable that way. And the best part about this whole thing is my dust cover. I've got a specialty dust cover for my TIG welding machine, and here it is. This is a large t-shirt, and the t-shirt fits over the TIG welding machine. Oops. Just like that. And where your neck pokes through, that's freehanded. That's it. That's my handy dandy TIG torch for my TIG setup welding cart.